follows an extract from my book Fête Fatale, available from Amazon. Chapter 19, Part 1. Breakfast was organised and orders were placed as Kirsty was enlightened regarding the group's manifesto. As the expert guest speaker, she was invited to take the floor and explain what her research had revealed. It didn't take too much thinking to join the dots together and realise that this is to do with the recent mortality madness in Mossleigh. Putting aside wonder and dismay, I tailored my research to the subject and its more sinister uses. There is a strange conspiracy theory that suggests that digitalis poisoning is responsible for Van Gogh's yellow phase. Prolonged exposure can create symptoms of visual disturbance and create a golden halo effect around objects. The most obvious use of foxglove is to the pharmaceutical industry, where it's farmed and harvested for the base form of heart medication. Digitalis gives the foundation for digitoxin and digoxin steroids, which slow the heart rate. If we're looking at poisoning with the natural plant, then it's quite tricky, as the raw plant material acts as an emetic. I read of a case in which somebody tried to commit murder by mixing foxglove's leaves in a salad. The victim was desperately sick and this saved his life. Also, the plant material apparently doesn't taste good at all, so it's difficult to imagine how someone could be induced to eat it, said Kirsty. There's no evidence to support the theory that John took whatever it was willingly. But if it was forced upon him, then how was he made to take the stuff? If it tasted so disgusting, how could he have eaten it unwittingly, said May. I think that I have an idea of how to explain matters, but I'll save my theories until I'm sure. I need to check some things with Benji first, just to get my facts straight, said Beth. The others looked at her in wonder. Had she really solved the mystery? Beth dismissed their inquisitiveness and encouraged Kirsty to continue. From what I understand, if small amounts are ingested over a period of time, the result could be fatal if the symptoms are ignored. This isn't as strange as it may seem, as the symptoms are very general and can be attributed to various common ailments. If the leaves are eaten in sufficient quantity over a relatively long period of time, the heart would slow to such a pace that the result would inevitably be a heart attack. Taking an overdose of prescribed digitoxin would have the same effect, but in its natural form the digitalis compound is more concentrated and much more effective, said Kirsty. The crucial point here is when were the plants actually taken. If they were cut on the day of the fête during one of the garden tours, then that would pinpoint the date of the poisoning and narrow the window of opportunity, said Beth. I've been thinking about that, said Kirsty. I'm really sorry, but I just can't be sure. The cuts are obviously old now as the stems have wilted and died, but more than that I can't say. If it weren't for you coming the other day and me looking for that frog, I wouldn't have noticed even now. I didn't spend much time at all preparing the natural garden for the tours, as you'd imagine, so I can't be sure that I'd look closely at it for some weeks before the fête. I'm really sorry. I know that I often let myself into your garden to come and see you, but do you lock the gate when you're out? Asked Beth. I never lock the gate. Anybody could get into the garden if they wanted to. I've never bothered, as there isn't anything of value, and we don't get much theft of any sort here. I'm sorry, but it could be anyone at any time over the last month or two, said Kirsty. Don't worry about it, Kirsty. I think I have all that I need now, thank you. Does anybody have anything else of interest to tell? Asked Beth. I may do. I'm not sure, said Henrietta. I met Bobby Maddox at Nicola's the other day. He was asking for a list of who had bought tickets for your garden tours. He was very interested in a couple of holiday makers who visited the fête and probably came on a tour. We went to Harrisfield, where they'd said they were staying, and got their names to give to your brother. He seemed very excited when Nicola mentioned that she thought they were Greek, but with American accents, and then he spent his afternoon off chasing down their names. Everybody had heard the "we" in Henrietta's sentence, but nobody made reference to it, except for a few sly glances here and there. Now I wonder what that could mean, said Beth. Are you going to share your thoughts with us, Mum? Asked Emma. I'm afraid not. Not just now. I promised Benji that I wouldn't start casting aspersions hither and thither, and it's only just a hunch I have at present. Don't worry, I'll tell you as soon as I safely can. If I'm right, of course. At Winsford HQ, a telephone rang. James speaking. A long silence ensued as James sat listening attentively. Yes, that's very interesting, Forbes. It makes a great deal of sense to me. Another period of listening again followed. That's very thorough. Under his fingernails, you say? Well, I guess that's only natural. Yes, I think I've got what I need, thank you. Try the same tests on the old lady, will you? It should be a lot quicker now you know what you're looking for. Good job, that man. I'll buy you a pint when it's all over. Inspector James then walked over to his chief superintendent's office and knocked on the door. Come in. Ah, James, what's going on? Said Holloway. The Mossleigh case is hotting up. I was going to go there tomorrow, but I've just heard all I need from Forbes, so I'm going to head off now. My desk is clear and you can call me if you need me, said James. Do you think that you can get it all cleared up now? I'm not quite there at present, but I'm going to go and see someone who I think can help me. Do you need to take anybody with you? No, thank you, sir. I've got Maddox once I get there. I know I could deal with matters, but we'll keep it local. It's good for a community to see its own force clearing up. That's very big of you, James. I'm sure you're right. Keep me posted. I hope you get things tidied up quickly. James got into his car and began a leisurely drive to Mossleigh. The sun was shining. He was going to see his sister, and he could tell that this case was coming to a close. Although this would mean that somebody would soon be revealed as a disgrace and the usual shock and dismay would hit the community, it did mean closure. It also meant that justice would prevail. He also knew that, if he was honest with himself, it was that he experienced the thrill of successfully solving a puzzle. Beth was of the same mind. It looked as if they had both come to the same conclusion, albeit by two very different routes. He had used the official channels, whereas Beth had used her village network and her own knowledge on the domestic front. If they had both come to the same conclusion, then he knew that he was onto a winner. Between the two of them, they should have all angles covered, and they'd get the complete picture. For the full book of Fête Fatale, available in paperback or as an ebook, follow the link in the cards in the description box or find details on my website at sharonbill.com. Thanks for listening.